She mixed up the dose. The dog died, and with it, the whole bloodline. Wrong dosage.
The vet clinic sat off the highway, wedged between a gas station and an auto parts store. The gray sign read, "Animal Harmony," though the paint was peeling and the letter O was hanging by a screw. Inside smelled like bleach and wet fur. White walls carried paw marks that no mop could scrub out. Grace dropped into a chair and pulled a small notepad from her pocket. Pages crowded with numbers, loans, utilities, groceries. At the bottom, save for moving. The city, she believed, would give her a second chance. But here, it was just lines, bleach, and calls from debt collectors. She felt especially tired that day. Half-finished coffee buzzed in her head. Overdue reminders blinked on her phone. Clients came in like always. Cat with an ear infection, mutt with fleas, woman arguing about vaccine prices. Grace compressed it all into a couple of lines on a chart. Her next sounded drier every time. The door creaked again. In came the breeders, a man in a worn jacket and a woman clutching a notebook. On the leash, a golden bitch, coat shining like money. Dogs from that line fetched a high price. Grace knew it. "Routine surgery," the woman said, her voice firm, accountant-like. "Noted," Grace replied. In the OR, she opened a drawer. Rows of vials, identical twins, white labels, matching caps. On one, the font sagged, letters slouched. She stared too long, grabbed two at once, set them on the tray. Hands moved faster than thought. The nurse stumbled in, dropping forceps. "Well, let's switch the dog off, like a TV," she muttered. Grace smirked. The laugh came out hollow. The dog twitched her ears, as if she caught the tone. Grace stroked her neck, more for herself. Everything was supposed to be routine. A simple procedure, a couple of hours, then dinner bought with one less debt on the list. Outside, the wind chased slush across the asphalt. Nobody looked at the clinic windows. The mistake had already happened. Quiet, like a switch in an empty room, and the world pretended not to notice. The OR was small-town shabby. Cracked linoleum, lamp on a tripod humming like an old transformer, stainless steel table scarred with claw marks. The nurse dropped her forceps again, cursed under her breath, picked them up. She had this habit of giving patients car nicknames. "So, the Ford Explorer's ready?" she asked, nodding at the golden bitch. In the hallway, the breeder paced, steps like an auctioneer's gavel. 1, 2, 3. His wife sat with her notebook. "Insurance covers it," she said flatly, "but only half." Grace stared at the vials. Identical labels. She grabbed one, then another. Thought flashed. Schedules burning. Next clients waiting. She knew she was cutting corners. Her hand still reached for the syringe. The dog laid down on the table. Grace slid in the needle. Eyes shut instantly. No drift, no delay. "Fast," the nurse muttered. "Sedation kicks quicker than a coupon deal," Grace said, and looked away. The surgery rolled like clockwork. Incision, suture, gauze. From the radio came a pizza ad, like the world had better things to care about. Grace wrote one line in the chart. Pressure, perfect. Almost too perfect. She stared at the number. Too neat. Too exact. 2 empty vials sat on the tray. Nobody asked why. The nurse tossed them into the drawer with the tools. Finished. Grace told the breeders, "All good. Pick her up tomorrow." Routine tone. She peeled off gloves, scrubbed her hands. In the mirror, a tired face. Thought flickered. Something's off. But the nurse already called her to a Honda Civic waiting next door. Grace nodded, moved on. Same old job. Only the dose wasn't. The breeder's house stood on the edge of town, by a field where the wind pushed plastic bags across frozen dirt. That evening they brought the dog home. She was groggy, but licked her bowl clean. The man tossed the leash on a chair. The wife pulled out her notebook, logged weight and temperature. 102.1, she said. "Fine," he grunted. "I'll write it anyway." "Right." He flipped TV channels, muttering, "Pups from this line hold value, or drop. Carter's went down 300. She set valerian in a dish. "For calming," she said. "Fine, just don't let her croak." The dog wobbled, curled by the couch, breathing heavy but steady. Wife scribbled, "Shaky paws, loud breathing." At night, the silence hurt. First time they woke to a rasp like bellows. Wife stroked the dog till it eased. Second time, he heard her stumble up, collapse again. He muttered, "Hang on." Third time, both jumped up, but the house was still, just the clock ticking. By dawn, no breath. Wife closed the dog's eyes. Hands shook, but she still wrote. 0435. Stopped. He smoked on the porch, staring into dark. First thing, she texted the breeder's chat. "Anyone had sudden death post-surgery? This line?" Replies came quick. "Happened to us. Weak breed. Genetics, no doubt." By evening, rumors spread. At the pub, they talked it through like grain prices, half serious, half jokes. In 24 hours, one dead dog turned into gossip seed, rooting deeper than the owners could imagine. Days later, whispers turned to noise. Forums buzzed, but the breeder club meeting was louder. The rec hall stank of burnt coffee from a machine sputtering like it had opinions. People sat at long tables, clicked pens, shuffled papers. The chairman, tall and skinny, spoke like he was reciting a pledge. "Colleagues, this isn't one case. It's the whole line. Reputation must be defended." Among them, a man in a paw print tie dabbed sweat with a hanky, repeating, "Think of the market. Think of the future. Without trust, we're finished. Totally finished." Voices clashed. Some blamed genes. Others hinted at the clinic. One man smirked. "Genetics is like the weather, always guilty." Nervous chuckles. "Vote," the chairman ordered. "Cull the line." Hands shot up. Only 2 women hesitated. One stared at her notes, the other at a leash hanging empty. For a moment, they might change it. Then both raised hands. Decision made. News flew. Social feeds lit up. Line banned. Pups recalled. Sale ads vanished. Kennels emptied. Owners boxed toys, folded blankets. Grace, meanwhile, filed her report. Complications, probable hereditary weakness. Neat lines, clean paper. Paper lived its own life, hiding what shadowed underneath. One slip became a collective verdict. Noise mattered more than truth. The clinic phone kept ringing. Grace answered less. Complaints blurred. Some wanted payouts, others threatened TV, others warned it was just the start. She jotted notes without names. Only volume mattered. An official claim pushed her to a lawyer. His office sat over a bank. Low ceiling, ink smell. Papers stacked in ruler-straight piles. Each time he spoke, he squared them again. "Blame genetics," he said, without looking up. "Safe, familiar, no fallout. Dead don't testify." Grace opened her mouth, wanted to say, "There were 2 vials." Words stuck. She only nodded. The unsaid hung like a missing file in a drawer. "Standard phrasing," he went on, quote, "exact cause undetermined, presumed hereditary predisposition. Write it down, case closed." He smirked. "Genetics is the best lawyer. Never called to court." She signed. Black lines on white paper. Cold. Faceless. Meanwhile, the club's verdict took effect. February 5, 3 litters put down. February 8, 2 dams retired. February 11, 15 pups destroyed to preserve reputation. Dates and numbers stacked like a shopping list. No story, just erasure. That night, Grace stared out the window. Meltwater pooled on asphalt, cars slicing it into ripples. The world moved on. Only she knew the error was buried in the paperwork, and the paper was killing more than one syringe ever could. No trial. Silence did worse. Winter moved on. Fair in the square, kids on sleds, dogs chasing trash. But around Grace, silence thickened. At the bar she'd gone to for years, a sign read, "Dogs Welcome." Used to be a joke. When she walked in now, laughter cut out. Bartender poured her beer, skipped the usual, same as always. Folks at the counter pretended to read menus. Her thanks echoed too loud. At the pharmacy, she bought saline and gauze. Clerk rang it up, slid the bag, eyes fixed on the register. Fingers paused on the keys a beat too long. Silence said it clear, not wanted here. On the lot, a neighbor scraped snow from his car, saw her, froze, half lifted his hand like to speak, just nodded and went back to scraping. Conversation replaced by pause. That night, she opened the paper. Small notice. Optimization of breeding program. Preserving national reputation. No word of the clinic. No hint of guilt. She read it 3 times. Caught the subtext. Dozens destroyed. At the clinic, a new patient. She filled the form. Date. Drug. Pen stuttered. Blot spread. She set her cup down. 6th coffee ring, like a counter of mistakes. The city lived on. For her, time stopped. Pauses replaced accusations. Newspapers spoke in borrowed words. Paper hid truth better than walls. Each time she passed the bar with its "Dogs Welcome" sign, She felt eyes on her back. No one spoke. Didn't have to. The clinic stood empty. Lamps hummed, faucets drips like a stopwatch. Grace sat at her desk, open log in front, pages full of dates, doses, signatures. Nothing human. She found the Tuesday line, thin pen stroke, ordinary digits, yet they had cost dozens of lives. She set her mug right on it. Coffee ring bled across the numbers. This time, on purpose. Her own mark of guilt. In an envelope lay bills, already mailed, anonymously, to the shelter. Not redemption, dog won't come back, but someone would get food, meds, a small gesture. Not absolution, only reminder. Beneath the stack hid a bus ticket, unbought, unused. Once it was her dream, new city, new start. Now it felt foreign. Leaving would be running. She stayed, deliberate. This town her sentence. Every stare, every pause, a Tuesday carved in stone. She closed the log, leaving the coffee ring as its seal. Mistakes don't live on paper. They live in people, in neighbors' silence, in empty leashes, in pauses. She killed the light. Last sound in the room, the drip of the faucet. Then nothing.